2. The life of Mahasiddha Virupa. Virupa was born a crown prince, the son of King Suvarnachakra, of the city of Vaishasha in eastern India. The court astrologers predicted at his birth that he would develop tremendous spiritual powers and would illuminate the teachings. He was given the name of Rupya Chakra. As a young child, he entered the famous monastery of Somapura in North Bengal, where he received novice ordination from the abbot Vinitadeva and Acharya Jayakirti. He mastered all the 5 major sciences and became a great scholar of both Buddhist and non-Buddhist doctrines. It was here that he built a stone temple in which he installed the holy images of the Buddha. He established a tradition of making regular offerings to cleanse the misdeeds of his deceased parents. When the temple was complete, he offered a big celebratory feast to the whole monastic community and dedicated the merits. Having concluded his studies there, he left for Nalanda, famous Nalanda University, where the Dharma was firmly established. There he received bhikshu ordination from the abbot Dharmamitra, also known as Jayadeva of Nalanda University. He was given the name Sri Dharmapala. He continued his study under the tutorship of his abbot, who was very pleased with him and gave him many private teachings on Vajrayana practices in general and on Chakrasamvara Tantra in particular. The abbot left instructions in his will that Sri Dharmapala should be appointed his successor and asked the monastic officials to show equal respect and honor to his successor as they had Dharmapala was accordingly appointed. The abbot left instructions in his will that Sri Dharmapala should be appointed his successor and asked the monastic officials to show equal respect and honor to his successor as they had Dharmapala was accordingly appointed abbot of Nalanda. He supervised his predecessor's grand funeral ceremony and arranged to have the entire remains of the abbot transformed into relics, which he carefully distributed amongst the various kings, patrons, and monks. Dharmapala practiced Chakrasamvara diligently every night according to the secret instructions he had received from his abbot. His days were devoted to teaching and composition. Although he gave teachings on both Theravada and Mahayana texts, he devoted most of his own time and energy to the esoteric practices of Vajrayana. He continued to practice Chakrasamvara wholeheartedly year after year. However, at the age of 70, despite so many years of faithful practice, Dharmapala was yet to experience any signs of spiritual attainment. He also had to contend with all of his old diseases which plagued his body and mind. He was saddened and frightened by the constant harm caused by yakshas and evil spirits. To add to his general state of discouragement and frustration, he had been having the most frightful nightmares. In one of these dreams, he saw a huge fire burning at the lower end of a valley, and a flood rising from the upper end. He saw hailstorms, glaciers, icicles, and icebergs falling from the sky. He saw his guru, yidam, and spiritual friends hanging upside down, or with their faces torn apart, noses cut off, eyes gouged out, and dripping with blood. Not surprisingly, Dharmapala interpreted these dreams as bad omens. He concluded that he must lack the karmic connection to attain realization through the path of Vajrayana in that lifetime. He decided to give up his Vajrayana practices completely. Accordingly, on the night of the 22nd day of the fourth lunar month, he relinquished his practice of deity yoga and threw his prayer beads into the latrine. These dreams were actually indications that Dharmapala was about to achieve a major spiritual realization through his tantric practice. But he had no way of knowing this at the time, so he completely misread the signs. He was unaware that he had already perfected the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, and was about to attain the path of seeing. At that time, his vital energy in his mind had merged into the ksha and ma syllables below the navel chakra. This had caused the symbolism which appeared so terrifying in his dreams. He failed to recognize the signs of what was happening to him because his abbot had died before imparting the complete Pit instructions. These would have explained the drastic changes occurring in the subtle energy flows within his psychic body and clarified the dream experience. Sri Dharmapala decided that, from then on, he would devote his entire time to teaching, writing, and other duties for the Sangha, monastic community, instead of spending many hours a day on deity yoga meditation practice. However, on that very night, he dreamed that the goddess Nairatmya appeared before him in the form of a beautiful blue woman, wearing heavenly silk garments, and spoke to him thusly: "O noble son, it is not good that you should behave in this manner when you are about to attain the Siddhi. Although all the Buddhas have non-discriminatory compassion, I am the deity with whom you have a strong karmic affinity, and I shall bless you to quickly attain Siddhi. Go and retrieve your prayer beads, wash them with scented water, confess your misdeeds, and resume your practice properly." Then she disappeared. Dharmapala awoke feeling a mixture of regret and joy. He followed her instructions, resuming his practice early that morning. Subsequently, the mandala of the Nirmanakaya aspect of the 15 goddesses of Nairatmya appeared before him and gave him the 4 complete initiations. He thereupon attained the path of seeing of the first bhumi. He now realized the true significance of his dreams. The rough dreams and visions of yakshas were the interdependent manifestations of his mind and vital energies merging into the ksha and ma syllables below the navel chakra. This was caused by the untying of the vein knots, which brought about the first merging of elements and signs of the vital energies of Chandali heat. The unconventional experiences which appeared to his conceptual mind resulted from the readaptation process between the veins and the mind. As a sign of the intermediate merging of elements, the Chandali fire blazes upward and causes the bodhicitta nectar to flow upward. Such an interdependent manifestation of internal events would be experienced conceptually by the yogi as a blazing fire from the bottom of the valley and a flood coming from the upper part of the valley. The forceful circulation of the subtle droplets in many minor veins was reflected in the dreams about hailstorms and icebergs falling from the sky. The third and final merging of the elements revealed the bare face of flawless transcendental wisdom. This has the effect of dissolving all attachment to ordinary appearances. These interdependent manifestations were reflected in his dreams of the torn faces of his guru and yidams. He came to realize that all those signs had been direct meditative experiences related to the three sequential mergings of the subtle elements within his body. Through the timely appearance and guidance of Vajranairatmya, Sri Dharmapala had finally attained realization. From then on, he reached a higher bhumi each day, until in the early morning of the 29th of the same month, he attained the 6th bhumi. The 10 bhumis are the bodhisattva stages, basically. He was now a great bodhisattva dwelling on the 6th bhumi. His receipt of the 4 complete initiations confirmed that the continuous flow of the empowerment had not ceased. The attainment of the 6 bhumis was confirmation that the lineage of the blessings was unbroken. His failure to recognize previous signs of attainment and his misinterpretation of these signs as bad omens confirmed that he had not received certain Pit instructions. This enabled him to realize that the order of the instructions was not wrong. In consequence, Dharmapala's devotion to the teachings was restored and redoubled. He became confident that he would definitely attain the realization of a fully enlightened one, as did the Buddha. In this way, he was blessed with the 4 whispered lineages, which came to be known as the instruction of the 4 whispered lineages. Out of great gratitude to his guru and yidams, Sri Dharmapala asked his companions to prepare Ganachakra feast offerings. Meat and wine were included amongst the requisite offering substances. The other monks became apprehensive when they saw the meat and alcohol being taken into their abbot's headquarters. The abbot's quarters. Some of them eavesdropped at his door at night. Depending on the level of purity or impurity of their respective minds, they each saw different things going on in his own room. Some saw the abbot surrounded by 15 women. Others saw only 8. Some saw him surrounded by 15 lamps, while others could only see 8 of them. These nocturnal sightings aroused considerable suspicion within the monastic community. However, the monks dared not speak out, for he was their abbot, and his reputation in the wider world was not just untarnished, it was brilliant like the sun. In the meantime, Sri Dharmapala had already decided that, in order to avoid any possibility of disparagement to the doctrine which might arise from misunderstandings about his behavior, he should, without delay, confess his wickedness. Accordingly, he left his room and went before the Buddha image. Removing his Dharma robes and setting down his begging bowl, he declared, Ame Virupa, which means, I am wicked. Next he went off and adorned his head with flowers and leaves, which he took from florists. He snatched radishes from vegetable shops, stuffing some into his mouth and others beneath his armpits. He began frequenting bars and brothels. His behavior caused a scandal, and it was not long before the monastic gong was beaten, signaling his dismissal from the monastery for violation of the monastic code of conduct. Virupa responded by singing joyously. In order to benefit the Buddha Dharma and also rekindle the faith of those who had lost their faith in him, he admitted his wickedness. After his dismissal, he adopted the name Virupa. He became very famous under this new name, and his ordination name, Dharmapala, was virtually forgotten. Hence, very few scholars and historians, apart from the Lamdré historians of the Sakya tradition, realized that it was the famous abbot Dharmapala who later became Virupa. Virupa set off to Varanasi. When he reached the river Ganges, he spoke the following words, I am wicked, so let me pass without touching you, as you are believed to be pure. I don't want to pollute you. Even as he spoke, the waters of the Ganges parted, and there appeared before him a dry white path. He walked along the path, singing joyously. Some monks had followed him as far as the river. When they saw this amazing feat, they realized that Virupa had already attained the Siddhis. They begged their dismissed abbot for forgiveness and requested that he return to the monastery. Virupa forgave them but declined to return. He wandered through the forests of Varanasi for a long time. Some sources say this was for 6 years that it went on for. Others say for 6 months. Because of his nakedness, his complexion turned bluish, and he became frightful to behold. Peasants who saw him reported his presence to the king. Some thought he was a Hindu yogi, while others suspected he was a Buddhist yogi. The king of Varanasi, Govinda Chandala, was a staunch devotee and patron of the Hindu yogis. He wanted to offer comfort to the wanderer should he prove to be a Hindu, but feared the man might bring harm to his citizens if he turned out to be a Buddhist. Accordingly, he ordered his ministers to investigate the yogi. However, the ministers could find no clue to his identity. The king then ordered that this mysterious yogi be brought to the palace so that he could examine him personally. On the way, Virupa indiscriminately devoured many worms, pigeons, and butterflies, which he then vomited up and resurrected. The king's men labeled him wicked, quote-unquote. He told them that he had no idea how he should behave, since they labeled him wicked whether he devoured worms or resurrected them.